Hi, I'm Deborah Diesen, children's book author, and I'm here today with Mr. Fish to read you another story. Today we're going to read you a story called The Pout-Pout Fish and the Can't Sleep Blues. I'm going to put Mr. Fish down in front so he can hear the story. I'm going to show you the book that I'm going to read. The Pout-Pout Fish and the Can't Sleep Blues. Before I start to read it, I'm going to need your help when I'm reading this. There's part of the story I'd like you to say with me, and it's a snoring sound, because as you can see, Mr. Fish is getting ready to go to bed here, and so we need to make a snoring sound that he'll make when he's asleep. Now, snores, sometimes when they're written out, they're shown as a bunch of Z's, because that's kind of what a snore sounds like. Zzzz. And our snore is going to be a very special snore sound. Say that 10 times fast. It needs to rhyme with snooze. And there are other words that rhyme with snooze. If you were writing in rhyme, you might use a book like a rhyming dictionary. And so I can look up rhymes for snooze, like blues, and lots of other words here. Choose. News, stews, views, shoes, and many, many more. Rhyming dictionaries are a great deal of fun. I highly recommend them. But let's practice a snore sound that rhymes with blues or snooze. So let's do that together. You ready? I'm ready. Zzzz. It'll sound more fun when we're saying it together. I feel a little like I need some help here, so let's get Mr. Fish to snore too. Zzzz. Very well done, Mr. Fish, and very well done you. So let's try it together. You'll kind of get the idea of when to make the snoring sound after I get rolling on this story. The Pout-Pout Fish and the Can't Sleep Blues by Deborah Diesen, that's me. Pictures by Dan Hanna. And you can see Mr. Fish looks like he's maybe getting ready for bed, but he doesn't look very sleepy right there. Let's see what happens with Mr. Fish. Late one quiet evening, in the inky ocean deep, Mr. Fish blubbed, "Oh, I can't get to sleep." His mind was busy, and his fins were full of vim. Though he wanted to be dozing, there were 0 Z's for him. I can't drop into dreamland. I can't slide into snooze. I'm wide awake. It's hard to take the can't sleep blues. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, where you try to go to sleep and you just can't, and that's what's happening to Mr. Fish here. A sleepy voice spoke softly. "Need some tips?" inquired Ms. Clam. "Just watch and see, and soon you'll be as drowsy as I am. Smooth your seaweed bedding, then imagine fluffy sheep. Count them 1 to 20, and then presto, fall asleep." Mr. Fish took the advice, but he couldn't catch a snooze. "Ms. Clam, I need more help." Ms. Clam replied. Are you ready with your snoring sound? Ms. Clam replied. Zzzz. She's fast asleep. But Mr. Fish still isn't. Then a sleepy voice spoke softly. "Here's an even better fix you will love," said Mr. Crab, "all my get-to-sleep quick tricks. Just put on purple PJs and 5 or 6 orange socks. Then soothe your busy thinking on a pillow made of rocks." Mr. Fish took the advice, but he couldn't catch a snooze. "Mr. Crab, what now?" Mr. Crab replied. Zzzz. He's asleep now. But is Mr. Fish asleep? Mr. Fish is not asleep. Then a sleepy voice spoke softly. "Here is what I would suggest, guaranteed," said Mr. Eel, "to yield a pleasant night's rest. First ripple to the left, then ripple to the right. Next swirl in a circle, swoosh, swoosh, nighty-night." Mr. Fish took the advice, but he couldn't catch a snooze. "Mr. Eel, what's the deal?" Mr. Eel replied, "Zzzz." Then a sleepy voice spoke softly, "For your slumber in the sea, here's a plan," said Mrs. Squid, "that always does the trick for me. Just widen out your eyes and give 4 quick tiny blinks." Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then slowly close your lids. Automatic 40 winks. Mr. Fish took the advice, but he couldn't catch a snooze. "Mrs. Squid, more ideas?" Mrs. Squid replied, "Zzzz." Then Mr. Fish heard nothing, just a symphony of snore. He still couldn't sleep. He felt worse than before. And you can see Mr. Fish is the only one wide awake here. Everybody else is sleeping. I took all of their suggestions, which I followed to a T. Their methods worked for them, but they did not work for me. I don't know what to do." He sank down in the kelp. "What good is good advice? It does not always help." Then a sparkly voice emerged. "Mr. Fish, you're partly right." The voice was dear Miss Shimmer's. Her smile was kind and bright. "But take what you've been given and learn from what you've tried. Then build your own solution. Trust yourself as a guide." "The best advice of all," said Miss Shimmer to her friend, "is to learn what works for you. Make your own special blend." With that, she said good night and departed from the scene. Now Mr. Fish was ready to create his own routine. "I'll settle in my spot. I'll smooth my seaweed bed. I'll smooch my snoozy snugly. Then I'll clear my busy head. I'll swoosh in gentle motion in the ocean wide and deep. I'll close my eyes, fins tucked in, and drift right off to sleep." Mr. Fish had tried his best to resolve his can't sleep blues. "Mr. Fish, how'd it go?" Mr. Fish replied, I think you know what's coming. Zzzz. Mr. Fish is finally fast asleep. He says, "No, I'm not. I'm right here." I am so glad you shared this story with us, and we look forward to reading another story to you again soon. Also, if you have any questions about the Pout-Pout Fish books or about writing or anything else, have your parent message them to me or email them to me with your question, and if you'd like, your first name. And on one of my future videos, I will be answering some of those questions. So I look forward to hearing from you. And in the meantime, I hope you read lots of books and enjoy lots of stories, and that when bedtime comes, that you get a good night's sleep. Thank you again for enjoying this story with us. See you next time.